This is number 10 in a series of videos about Thornbury FM, a small community radio station in Thornbury, South Gloucestershire, in the southwest of England. Thornbury FM broadcast for 28 days, twice a year, under a short-term restricted service licence, SRSL. It started transmitting on 87.7 with simultaneous webcasting in the autumn of 2005, and its final broadcast under that name was its 9th in autumn 2009. This time I want to examine the involvement of young Christians in the station. Thornbury FM always seemed keen on youth involvement. The chair of Thornbury FM and local vicar, David Primrose, went out of his way to emphasise to the local press the participation of young people. The enthusiasm of the young people was particularly encouraging, he declared in March 2005, 8 months before the station had even started its first broadcast, or had funds to acquire the necessary equipment. There's going to be a lot of involvement with schools and young people, he announced in October 2005, just before the station's first ever broadcast. We're particularly keen to have enhanced input from children and young people, he stated in February 2006, in the lead up to the second broadcast. And this was followed up in the newsletters of the station and of his church. The way in which young people and youth participated in our last broadcast was a great success, said the station's newsletter in January 2007, between the third and fourth broadcasts. We have several young people having the opportunity to present for a single programme, the station's newsletter claimed in April 2007. Just before the fourth broadcast. I listened to the young people show one Sunday evening. It was brilliant, sophisticated, slick, glowed Suzanne Layton in the November 2007 edition of Chat, just before the fifth broadcast. But more than anything else, Primrose wanted to promote the idea that participation in the station was fun for young people. What great fun the 8 to 10 p.m. teenage slot was, crowed the evaluation report of the second broadcast. This same statement was quoted almost verbatim in the station's September 2006 newsletter. And Suzanne Layton, in her article in the church newsletter, also endorsed the idea of youth participation being great fun. The station set up the Are You Listening Youth Project, which received funds from various sources and which aimed to stimulate young people in the locality to volunteer and to produce radio programs for broadcast live on air and online. So far all this sounded good, didn't it? What could be wrong with youth participation? Well, nothing, but there were two questions that should have been asked. 1. Who exactly were the young people that were involved? And 2. Why were those young people in particular involved? This needs to be investigated. Let me start with the spring 2009 broadcast. On Saturdays at 7 a.m. there was the Saturday Breakfast Show, hosted by Magic Matt Wood. In fact, it was not merely that programme on which he appeared. He was also involved with Thornbury Fun Factory, Home Run and Are You Listening? Matt had previously been part of a team in the autumn 2007 broadcast, before being given his own program News Fright in the spring of 2008. In the autumn 2008 broadcast, this much favoured young man had a 7 PM program on Saturdays called The Variety Hour. Again, the extent of Matt's involvement in the station, as was stated on his presenter's page in autumn 2008, indicated both the importance the station gave to him, especially with supporting young people new to radio broadcasting, as well as hinting at his particular allegiances. So here is a pattern to remember: broadcasting as part of a team first, then later an own program, followed by cross-program involvement and training others. In the list of Matt's other autumn 2008 programs was Thornbury Global, presented by Terry Wood. Do you see the likeness? Yep, father and son, and both active in BCF, Bristol Christian Fellowship. Matt Wood was rewarded in other ways too, as well as involvement in Thornbury FM. He was made one of Philida Parslow's mayoral consorts during 2009-2010. You may have noticed that in the second video in this series. As you will see later, the year 2009 also saw other youngsters being rewarded for volunteering in the community, but specifically for involvement in Thornbury FM, the station being given undue prominence in that respect. So there was a further element to the pattern of youth participation in Thornbury FM, the reward.
Matthew, Mark and Luke and John, bless the bed that I lie on. 4 corners to my bed, 4 angels there be spread.
Henry Wilmer was another of Thornbury FM's seasoned young presenters, who continued his Saturday afternoon programme Chill and Chat, though hilariously reversing it as Chat and Chill in autumn 2008. Henry was an Anglican, and his involvement with Thornbury FM featured in the January 2007 and November 2008 editions of Chat, the St Mary's Church newsletter. Henry had his introduction to broadcasting on Thornbury FM as part of the young TFM team and the Get With It programme. Here is young TFM with Henry surrounded by an impressive harem of 9 girls, all smartly turned out in blue.
Lavender's blue, dilly dilly, lavender's green. When I am king, dilly dilly, you shall be queen.
This is what the young TFM team had to say on its original presenters page. We, the presenters, get to have lots of fun and learn about presenting. Ah yes, the F word, fun, remember? And then it revealed this: some past members of the Get With It group have gone on to have their own shows, so it's obviously a good place to spot new talent. So to repeat, young people started off in Thornbury FM as part of a team where radio presenting was learnt, and later they were given their own show. That is how Henry Wilmer progressed, within a large group, then with a few friends, then as a duo, then on his own. Notice here that he mentioned a primary school on his presenter's page. The primary school that Henry referred to was St Mary's Church of England Primary School. Here is Henry's school news in the April 2007 edition of Chat, the Anglican Church newsletter. The Molly, alongside him, was also part of the group that presented Get With It. Blue is the colour of the St Mary's Primary School uniform, and that is why the young TFM team were wearing blue. They were from that school. Here you will notice Year 5 being taught about Indian cookery by Romy Gill, who featured in the third video in this series. This is the school where former Thornbury FM secretary Jane Leo was a senior teacher. Notice also in this section the mention of school children making programs for Thornbury FM. The way that recruitment into Young TFM and progress within the station worked was confirmed by Henry in the January 2007 edition of Chat shown earlier. Notice also the mention of Mrs. Jane Leo and her daughter Sophie. Finally, after being given his own show, Henry had to participate in other programs, including working during the autumn 2008 broadcast as Chris Connery's receptionist and Gillian Holmes' technical operator, shown here. Gillian Holmes was a teacher at the Castle Secondary School and an experienced Thornbury FM broadcaster, so it was not clear why she could not by herself manage equipment like the mixer, the CD players and so on, unless she wanted to prove the old adage that those who can't, teach. Lo and behold, here's the next stage in the pattern, the reward. Henry Wilmer received the Alveston House Hotel Ambassador Award for his work with Thornbury FM. During the autumn half-term of 2008, Henry worked various hours during that week, at the very least as receptionist for Chris Connery and technical operator for Gillian Holmes, as well as his own programme. Whilst his hours may have been within lawful limits for paid employment, which don't legally apply to voluntary work anyway, what on earth was the station doing having a young teenager providing the support service to adults? There was more evidence of the links between Thornbury FM and St Mary's Primary School. This is from the May 2007 edition of Chat. You should recognise some names, faces too, as young presenters. If you read the article, you will see that these particular school children were helping with collating the local free distribution monthly magazine. I suggest that it was no coincidence that, on that occasion, the Thornbury magazine contained, as an insert, the schedules for Thornbury FM's broadcast for spring 2007. Previously, the magazine had requested help from Thornbury FM with collating work when the station schedules were an insert in the magazine, so it seems quite likely that a primary school teacher and some pupils went from St Mary's School during school time to St Mary's Church Hall, a location a kilometre away, to assist Thornbury FM's publicity campaign. Surely not. Here is Sophie Leo, who, in the now established pattern, went on from being part of a team, the previously mentioned Get With It programme, with Young TFM in her case, to having her own Saturday afternoon 90-minute show called Showbiz Chat and Charts, and then helping out on other programmes. Just like with Matt Wood later, she helped out with other programmes and with training others, as mentioned with Henry Wilmer. As she said on her presenters page, she found it amazing to have those opportunities. Well, I didn't. Her mother, the aforementioned Jane Leo, was secretary of Thornbury FM at the time, so it is fair to say that Sophie was well connected.
No, I would not give you false hope on this strange and mournful day, but the mother-child reunion is only emotional way.
Anglican Jane Leo looked after Young TFM, and Dan Budd, formerly employed at NGM, supervised the older TFM youth. The schools and youth coordinator position at Thornbury FM later went to Baptist Holy Helen Harrison. Budd and Harrison featured prominently in Video 9, and Jane Leo appeared in Video 8.